there beyond GitHub Copilot that we all know and love. Now, when I submitted this idea for a talk, I had no clue how fast everything would be changing, because AI is advancing at an alarming rate. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, said that GPT-4, the best current model that powers ChatGPT, and Copilot sucks, and hinted at release of new and improved models in the coming months. Anthropic launched Claude 3, their latest iteration of an AI model, which I now personally prefer to GPT-4. NVIDIA has made a tremendous leap forward in hardware, powering all aspects of AI. The founder of Stable Diffusion is hinting at lots of new announcements, and a new AI tool called Devin, which is meant to replace developers, has been unveiled, but I think that's mostly marketing hype. I know this can all feel a bit overwhelming, but I'm here to help. My name is John Lindquist. I'm a developer advocate at ClickUp. The Angular community might know me as the original Egghead instructor. I worked on those Angular lessons you may have watched like 10 years ago. Now, raise your hand if you recognize two or more of these logos. Anybody? A half a hand. That's probably one. Now, these are all VS Code extensions that have similar features to GitHub Copilot. I ran out of room on this slide trying to list every single VS Code extension that is trying to be an AI coding assistant. And this doesn't even account for all the amazing work that JetBrains and others are doing. So out of all of those, which assistant should you use? My shortest answer is, whichever your company will pay for. Adding Copilot to the GitHub Enterprise bill is usually easiest for everyone. There are some options for running models locally, but the hardware gets really expensive and it's not quite as good. But let's explore a few of my favorites. So Codium is free and it's awesome. Codium it feels faster and is measurably faster than Copilot. It has an in-house model and infrastructure, has about the same amount of features as Copilot. It supports VS Code, JetBrains, Vim, Emacs, Sublime. And there's a team plan to upgrade to with more features if you really enjoy it. My personal preference is one called Cursor. It's a fork of VS Code, and it has features called Copilot Plus and custom rules, which I'll explain a bit more. And it uses the OpenAI API, so you can just plop in your key for that. Or Claude support was announced just a couple days ago. And the main thing is I saw the OpenAI devs using it at one of their developer conferences, so I figure if they're using it, then maybe it's the best tool for AI. But what I really love about it, and yes, I'm showing a React slide at Angular, at ng-conf. But hey, I got a joke coming, so it's okay. So you can imagine the scenario where you stubbed out some UI, right? You wrote a button, you wrote some input, and then you wrote some state above it. Copilot Plus, which is the worst name for a feature ever, will automatically suggest all the rest of the code for you. It's like, hey, I see you have state, I see you have UI. You probably want to combine those two things. And it'll suggest in line everything that you need. And if you just hit tab right now, it would give you all the rest of the grayed out code there. So it'll fill in all that code in your template, which should upset some React developers. Custom rules is also one of my favorite things. For all of suggestions, you can say, please always use signals, please use long descriptive variable names, always add multi-line code comments, and you can really tweak the way that it suggests the code for you so you're not always relying on kind of raw responses from the OpenAI response. And hopefully by now, we're all using AI coding assistants at least a little bit because of the huge boost in productivity they can give us. And my personal view is that the AI coding assistant is a solved problem, that it's time to move on to tougher problems. So what's beyond AI assistants like Copilot? The example I'm going to give you is I call the edge case of the broken window. And I'm going to talk about reasoning through edge cases. Now, I consider myself a decent developer, but I often quickly need to grab a library or sometimes even a language where I have no clue what I'm doing. This particular example is an Objective-C library for managing focus and window activation on Mac. Now, this library worked great for about a year and a half, but then updating the main framework broke the package, and it broke it hard. I think we've all been there. Updating just caused constant crashes, and this was a critical feature. My app would not work without this. I was completely at a loss. I tried every prompt possible. It was like a week of consistent prompting, trying to figure out what in the world I was supposed to do in Objective-C with the crash dumps. And what was great is the AI taught me how to create crash dumps. It walked me through using low-level debuggers and loading symbols in, but nothing solved the actual issue. It could never figure it out. Luckily, open source is still a thing, and open source came to the rescue. I was able to hop on GitHub Code Search. If you've never used it, it's amazing. I could search by the language, by Objective-C. I could search by the keyword that I needed, which was NS Windows style mask non-activating panel. And you can search by imports and find the exact sort of files, libraries, and things, and the ways that other people are using them. So if you're curious, the solution was to use a category instead of subclassing in Objective-C, and that stopped the crashing, if that means anything to anyone out there. Now, if you're not familiar with GitHub Code Search, a great example is searching for like the Angular CDK and also including analog.js and saying search for package.json files, which include those two things. And it can find like 35 projects for you right away where you can see how those two libraries are working together, and you can walk through the context, walk through the developer's thought process, see how they're using them, and by association see, well, they did it that way, so I can probably do it this way as well, and tweak your code based on the examples that you find. Now, for the time being, you still need to do that. You still need to investigate and reason about your bugs by looking at other projects, reading the docs, talking with other developers about these edge cases and bugs. Because the AI couldn't make the logical leap to using categories instead of subclasses, even though it kind of seems obvious in hindsight. I do, though, believe that reasoning in AI will be solved in the coming years, but that's just a hypothetical. So I wanted to give it something more difficult and applicable to what we're doing. What I'm doing is training a lot to getting someone oriented on a code base. So I wanted to try explaining code paths. For example, you have a new hire and you want to show them how a user clicks on a button and the data flows through the app and hits the database, comes all the way back, refreshes the page, how the data flows through the app. So I use ScriptKit. I'll use ScriptKit for my code path example. ScriptKit is an open source tool for Mac, Windows, Linux. I've been building it for the past few years. And it's a toolkit for creating, running, and managing scripts on your machine and pairing them with these configurable UI prompts. Now, I was lucky enough to get on the Gemini 1.5 Pro beta from Google, and I ran a script to stitch together every single TypeScript file in both code bases, in both the ScriptKit SDK for the scripts and the ScriptKit application shell. They came out to about 200,000 tokens, and a token is like a small unit of text. And on Gemini, which supports 1.5, which supports 1 million tokens, I was able to upload the entire code base for both of those, at least the TypeScript files, to Gemini. For comparison, ChatGPT is limited to 32,000 tokens. Claude 3 is at 200,000 tokens. Both of those would have hit the hard cap, and I wouldn't have been able to do anything. Gemini with 1 million tokens, I was able to ask a question about both code bases. So I just said, hey, explain the code path from a user being prompted for input from await arg in the script all the way to the front-end UI, accepting the input, then back to the script using the user's input. Seemed to me like an impossible task. Gemini, after about 30 seconds, spit this out. It said, tell you what, steps 1 through 9. 1, we, in the script, we'll call this with these options. 2, we'll use the IPC channels and we'll send the channel message. 3, we'll hit the main process, hit the kit prompt window, which will then, 4 and 5, from the kit prompt, send it to the renderer process with the proper data, hit the data atom. 6, we'll wait for the user to input something in the input atom. 7, the user will submit something. and then post that back to 8, the main process, and then 9, the script will resolve it and display the information, which is just blew my mind, that it was able to find every single step in there just based on my prompt was amazing, let's be honest, but it found everything, and it did it almost perfectly. There was a couple tiny things that I would have made mistakes too. So at this point, I'm blown away, near perfect explanation of how data flows through the app and through 2 code bases and how they connect together. I still have my doubts, so I asked something a little more precise and complicated. I said, include the file name and code block referenced by each step. That's all I put in there, right? And Gemini just knocked it out of the park. It found every single file name. It found the exact location of the file. It showed these beautiful little snippets showing only the relevant code that I was asking for. And it showed the script is here. And the script was imaginary. It made it up because it was required by the thought process. I didn't even provide that script. And the IPC work is done there in the app file. The main process is in messages. This is how it handles it. The prompt is handled in the prompt file, and here's where the prompt data is set, and then the user input is in the input component, and it showed the code snippet where the input is set, then it showed the code where the input is submitted, and then it showed back to the main process how it was posted, and then it showed back to the script where the data finally landed. And again, it would have taken me probably 2, 3, 4 hours to write that all up. And I'm the person who authored the app. I wrote the code bases. All that knowledge is in my head, but getting that out on paper took the AI like 1 minute, and it would have taken me hours. By my estimation, this is over a 100 times improvement on what I could have done. As far as speed, accuracy, I would go and clean up maybe a couple of things, but this did it. And it's also one of those tasks where I would hesitate to do it because of the effort it would require. Whereas with the AI, it's like it has no qualms about being asked to do hard things or boring things. It'll just go and do it. So at this point, I said, let's try something even more challenging. Let's write a script based on the APIs, having never seen an example, having never seen the docs. I did not upload the docs. I did not show it any of the I did not show it any example scripts. It's not trained at all. I said, tell you, I get a selected video in Finder, extract a frame every 10 seconds, then extract the audio as an MP3 file. Again, this is my amazing prompting as prompt engineer evolution. And it worked the first try. It spit out a script that used all the APIs. It understood exactly what I wanted, and it just gave me an example that I could copy and paste into my script-kit runner, and it ran the script, and I selected a video file, and it spit out 10 PNGs and the audio. It was up to me. One thing I forgot to ask is where it wanted the files to be stored when it was done, and it just kind of put them somewhere. But that one's on me. I didn't say where to put the files. So my mind was blown there. Let's talk about building your own AI scripts and playing with AI APIs and how easy that can be. So the reason I built ScriptKit is because I love writing these quick little scripts. I use them for a ton of different demos, a ton of different tasks throughout the day, and it just so happens that an application built around running scripts with UIs for prompting people is just the perfect companion for all these AI demos and AI tasks. So all you have to do is open ScriptKit, type the name of the thing that you want. If the script doesn't exist, then it'll create it. It'll open it up in your preferred editor. You can go to whatever API docs for whichever AI you want to use, copy and paste the node code example. In this example, I'm using Anthropic, but the same thing could work for OpenAI and DeepGram and any other AI tooling. I literally pasted it in. ScriptKit will watch your scripts, and if it detects a package that's not installed, it'll prompt you to install it. That's what this screenshot is showing. And then you could just go ahead and run it. And after this took about 30 seconds to have a demo up and running of using the Claude's API. And I don't know if I try and do a live demo, if that'll show up on screen. Since the monitor's over there, I could try doing a live demo. Yeah, live demo. So this is, so it worked. Okay, so this is that code, and it's running. I could try and edit a live demo. Am I living life dangerously at this point? I have to find a cursor. Let's say greet ng-conf. And let's see, pull out over there. And let's try that. Oh, did not save the file? See, you're supposed to save files after you change them. Have you guys learned that one yet? That's like a senior developer thing. And I still consider myself a little bit junior. All right. So it's, did I not save it yet? Anyway, you get the idea. It was supposed to say something about ng-conf, but it didn't. All right. We're still good? We're still good. All right, so at this point for me, like the next logical step is to build an AI script generator where you just ask it to write scripts in plain English. And that's definitely on my roadmap is just, say I want a script that strips out everything from this video, posts all the images to Cloudinary, and then gives me all the URLs to show on my site. Whatever sort of steps you want to do, you can just describe it in plain English and generate those scripts for you and have them up and running in a few seconds. Something else to explore here for AI for UI. This is a screenshot of VO by the Vercel team. I asked it to generate an ng-conf banner using Next.js, and so that's what that is. Builder.io and the quick devs have some quick UI stuff that they're working on, generating components and pages that you can just copy and paste in your code base. I know Mark hinted at something yesterday. I didn't see any visuals, so I wasn't able to get slides for that, but Angular's on the boat too. So watch for that. Follow Mark on all of his socials because he's awesome. AI for audio, I use this all the time. If you haven't heard of Whisper, it's a transcription AI. It's a model you can actually run locally as well through Whisper CPP. I use an app called Audio Hijack, which wraps around that. And I can just leave it listening to my computer the entire day. It can listen to YouTube, it can listen to Zoom, it can listen to your microphone and just transcribe everything. And then you have this record of everything you did throughout the day. And it's incredible because you can just start talking. If you have a thought, just start talking and know that at the end of the day, you'll have this record of the thoughts you just kind of threw out there. Or if you're watching a random video and you forgot to write something down, you can just search the text of your day. It's like that. It still is amazing to me and blows my mind every time something like that exists. AI for tasks, docs, and projects. Now, I'm totally unbiased on this one, but there's a ClickUp Brain for summarizing my tasks, searching the docs, managing my daily work. Huge time saver for me. I use it all the time. I know other products have some other features. I'm not as experienced with them, but there are AIs for your daily work and task management and project management. So my personal preference for a general purpose tool, and by general purpose I mean searches the web, has mobile and web apps, text to speech and speech to text. Perplexity is my favorite, and that's because I do prefer the Claude model over ChatGPT. And the way that it searches the web and adds references to every single response I find a bit better than the way that Copilot and some of Google's search results do it. Again, this may change tomorrow, but as of right now, I prefer this one. The mobile and web app are both great. I love the way it does the conversation history to go back and add things. And it also supports custom models or OpenAI or Claude. You can kind of pick whichever one you want. And the text-to-speech is great. I always, One of the fun things like I'll do at night sometimes, I'll just ask the AI to read my daughter a story about a princess playing One Night Werewolf or Among Us or whatever with Mario while they're doing silly things, and we'll just joke and act it out and stuff, because being a dad is fun. And just be aware that with all of these tools, I just barely scratched the surface, that there are hundreds of billions of dollars being dumped into AI right now, and that all of these tools are going to grow exponentially over the next few years, and that this complex code path that I showed earlier that was 100 times faster than what I could do will soon be 10,000 times faster, right? This stuff is getting faster, bigger, stronger. And it's time for us to think about that feedback loop and the productivity and how that'll change our lives. Many developers are wondering, should I be concerned about my job? And personally, I worry about the dismissive attitude of someone who sees AI as only like a GitHub Copilot. For example, the quote of, "Please use the text generator for generating text." Others will keep a narrow mindset of what it does today, and they think, I just want it to give me code suggestions. But my favorite quote is by John Carmack, and he says that coding was never the source of value, and people shouldn't get overly attached to it. Problem solving is the core skill. The discipline and precision demanded by traditional programming will remain valuable, but you realize that managing people is more powerful than any personal tool. I just don't like it. I can live with the limitations that puts on me. I suspect I will enjoy managing AIs more, even if they wind up being better programmers than I am. And many people relate to avoiding people management, but we all need to accept we will probably be working with AI management. So just remember that going forward, AI doesn't care about your keyboard shortcuts or your Vim macros. AI doesn't care about tabs or spaces. AI doesn't care about Git blaming someone. AI doesn't care about your code like you do. So please learn to disconnect the code from the problem. Those who can master these AI tools will iterate faster, build more. Your competitors will use AI to rip off your products even faster and at an alarming rate. So AI isn't coming for your job, but it is coming for your tools. So keep practicing the valuable skills of deeply understanding and precisely explaining problems in software. Try and spend less time writing code and more time documenting, explaining, and teaching code, because our tools of tomorrow are just waiting for you to tell them what to do. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and thanks to ng-conf for inviting me. I'm happy to talk about this stuff out in the hallway. Thank you.